सर्वधर्मस्वरूपिणे अवतारवरिष्ठाय रामकृष्णाय ते नमः. Dear devotees, friends, dear students, it's a very happy day for us that so many young people, they are here, and that too from 3 different universities. They will be speaking on Bhagavan Sri Ramakrishna, and that is a very special way. The Sri Ramakrishna had the habit, the very unique way to explain his teaching. Immediately, the moment he said something, immediately he added a story. The parables, they will say that parable and will express their views. To conduct this whole program, I request our committee member, Dr. Rajani Patwari ji, to come and take this program. Thank you very much. Rajani ji, this you have to take.
Yeah, I will. Oh, this one. I can do from this. Do I need this?
Yeah, please. This is for that.
Oh, this one? Huh? Oh, video के लिए है. Got it. Okay. ठीक है ना? Welcome and good morning. Today is a very auspicious day, and we celebrated Ramakrishna's Janmatithi birthday yesterday, and today we are going to extending the program on the same topic. And I am very, very happy and to see lot of new young faces here who are getting involved in Ramakrishna's teachings, and I hope everyone will enjoy the program. The program is very interesting. We will start the Guru Vandana and the Shanti Mantra by group of the young children from Gayatri Parivar, all world Gayatri Parivar. These are the young kids from the middle class, and I'm very, very happy to see they are chanting the Guru Mantra and also Shanti Mantra and the Guru Vandana. And after that, the program goes like this. We are going to have 10 speakers from universities. These are the young professionals, maybe I should say, will be expressing their views with the examples on the Ramakrishna's teachings in a very simple way. And also, then 5 speakers will be there, and after that, there will be a break by performing a dance program for 10 minutes maybe, and then followed by another 5 speakers, young speakers from different universities. The beautiful thing with this is all of these students are not from the same university, but they are from different universities. So we will get the variety of their views and variety of their thoughts and the presentations, on this day. So to start the program, I would like to invite, there are 6 young children from middle school from all world Gayatri Parivar to come forward and do the Shanti Mantra. They are Nishka, Ruchika, Ankita, Kanishka, Aditi, and Ansa. So I welcome these kids to come here and do the Guru Mantra.
One of you in the middle has to wear this. Okay. So here, why don't you wear it? Or no? Huh? Why don't you wear it?
Namaskar. Vandana. Om Guru Brahma Guru Vishnu Guru Devo Maheshwara Guru Sakshat Parabrahma Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha Akhanda Mandalakaram Vyaptam Yena Characharam Tatpadam Darshitam Yena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha Maturvat Lalayatricha Priturvat Marga Darshika Namostute Guru Satyaye Shradya Pragya Yutachaya Shradya Pragya Yutachaya Om Trimandana Om Ayatu Varade Devi Drakshare Brahmavadani Gayatri Chandasa Mata Brahmayona Namostute Brahmayone Namostute Om Estutamaya Varada Vedmata Prachodayantam Pavmani Dijanam Ayu Pranam Prajam Pushum Kirtim Travidnam Brahmajasasam Mayam Tavata Vraja Brahmakulam Ganesh Vandana Om Shri Vakratunda Mahakaya Surya Koti Sumaprabha Nirvingam Guru Me Deva Sarvakarshi Shasarda Sarvakarshi Sarvada Trimantara Om Bhurbhuva Swaha Tatsaviturvarenyam Vargo Devasya Dhimahi Deyo Yo Na Prachodayat Om Bhurbhuva Swaha Tatsaviturvarenyam Vargo Devasya Dhimahi Deyo Yo Na Prachodayat Om Bhurbhuva Swaha Tatsaviturvarenyam Vargo Devasya Dhimahi Deyo Yo Na Prachodayat Shantipat Asato Ma Satgamaya Tamaso Ma Jyotirgamaya Mrityorma Amritam Gamaya Om Dio Yoshantirashagam Shantihi Prithvi Shantirapaha Shantirosadaya Shantihi Panashvatayah Shantirvishve Deva Shantirma Shantihi Sarvagvam Shantihi Shantireva Shantihi Sama Shantirehi Om Shantihi 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 Sarva Risha Shisantir Bhavatu Shanti Ki Ji Shanti Ki Ji Shanti Ki Ji. How do we get this on?
I don't think these are on. Actually, I turned it off.
उनका है ऑडियो में तो ठीक है, मेरा क्या करना है? I think that was beautiful. but I think I mentioned only names of 6 students or the girls. I must have missed 2 of them. Only. Sorry about that. I think I missed the 2 names of the chantings. Would you like to stand up those who I missed? Because I want everyone to know who are the chanters. Who did I miss? You want to tell your names? Okay. Sorry about that. You can tell the name, that's fine. Huh?
Devanshi.
Devanshi, very nice. Ishan. Ankit?
Yeah.
Okay. Oh, Ankit, okay. And? Sneha? Okay. I'm so sorry because I think I missed, but you guys did a wonderful job and keep chanting. That will help you a lot. Let's go ahead with the program. Give them a big, big hand. Really nice. Okay. We will start our program with the speeches by the university students. 5 one time, then a dance, and then 5, followed by the 5 students. Ramakrishna Mission is very famous for keeping the discipline. Discipline is the base, like Vivekananda said that unless there is discipline in the life, you know, life will not be successful. So we have to follow some disciplines. So let us do that, and Ramakrishna Mission is famous for that, to the dot, to the second. So the reason I'm saying this, there are 5 students from different universities are going to speak on the different subjects, and each one is given 10 minutes each. So this is just a recommendation for the students. Please follow the time because we are short of time too. So let us start. The first speaker is Indulekha Guha. Indulekha Guha, she is from Purdue University, and I don't know what she is doing.
PhD in economics.
Oh, she is doing PhD in economics. You know, I think we should give her a big hand even before. Yeah, come on. These are the foundations of the future Ramakrishna Mission and also for the humanity. And I am really very much very happy that, you know, these students are getting involved in this philosophy of Swamiji and also Ramakrishna, and going to study and going to talk about it and express their views on that. Welcome, Indulekha.
Upon speaking about the parables and gospels of Sri Ramakrishna Paramhansha Dev, a verse from Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita comes to mind. Eishab Leelar kobhu nahi porichhed, abirbhav tirobhav matro kahe ved. Such mystical events have no beginnings nor endings. The Vedas signify them as comings and goings. Such were the life and teachings of Thakur Ramakrishna Paramhansa Dev. His words bear as much importance to today's youth as a beaming beacon of light to a weary traveler lost in dark woods. Many have praised and tried to fathom Sri Thakur's intellect. Many have philosophized on his teachings. Long treatises have been written. I do not have the intellect nor the ability to shed further light on them. What I do have, though, is a heart with which I have felt his charm and grace touch my life through his stories and anecdotes. What amazes and touches me the most is how he could impart the wisdom of the ancient Vedas to his disciples, but by using such simple words and examples that we might encounter daily in our lives. Intellect can be acquired through practice and studying, but intuition is obtained through God's grace only. This is what sets apart God-men like Thakur Ramakrishna from the rest. His knowledge was not bookish, his words were not mere chants. He was like the seer rishis of the Vedas, who no longer needed to read scriptures or practice penance, because they had seen the Supreme Being which had enlightened them so that they themselves became fountainheads of knowledge through whom flowed the words of truth. This parable of his, of which I shall speak for the rest of my time on this stage, bears witness to my previous words. When Sri Sri Thakur was staying with one of his principal disciples, Sri Balaram Bose, he was visited often by Sri Mahendranath Datta, who wrote Sri Sri Ramakrishna Kathamrita, the source of most of the divine stories of Sri Sri Thakur. On 8th December 1883, Thakur said to Sri Mahendranath, "You know, once there was a man who wanted to see a theatrical performance. So he went to the place where the play was being performed with a mat under his arm. On reaching the place, he found out that the play would be performed after some time. So he decided to unfold his mat and rest for some time. As it happens, he fell fast asleep. Once he woke up, he found that the play was already performed and the stage was deserted. To his astonishment, he had slept through the very play he had come to watch, and once he woke up, it was all over." How very true this is of all of us worldly souls. Even after coming home from work or on weekends, we hanker for entertainment of some kind or other. We spend our time on newer and more expensive games and pursuits. Eventually, we get bored with everything. I know this has happened to me, and I'm sure it has happened to many of our generation. We feel hollow and empty after going behind material pleasures. One by one, all our options are exhausted until we are haunted by those two greatest enemies of the mind, anxiety and depression. It is the foremost problem of our generation. It is the source of all this disturbance and violence we see all around us. This is why Thakur's teachings are so relevant to today's youth. His is the clarion call that says, wake up from this stupor, wake up from this sleep. If you think you are still young and you have time, you are wrong. Before you know it, the play of life will be over. I will admit freely that I, like most of us in our generation, has exhausted so many options to kill boredom. A movie, a date, even playing cards with friends. But I have come back from each of these feeling hollow and dissatisfied. We all search for peace and contentment, but we do not know where to find it. Thakur, being a true saint and seer of the future, anticipated this disaster. He knew the human race would eventually tire of material achievements and feel the pangs of spiritual hunger. Food feeds the body, right? Entertainment feeds the senses, but what on earth feeds the soul? Thakur answers this question. Nothing earthly can quench the soul's hunger. So it is never too early to start seeking for the Almighty, Athato Brahma Jigyasa. And it is not as fancy as it sounds. Whenever we get free time, think a little, contemplate a little, look inside a little, read a little bit of Thakur's teachings, or even listen to them being spoken. After all, we can think of this as spiritual entertainment. And the way that it works is astonishing. For those few moments, one can experience joy and bliss incomparable to any worldly pursuits. All one has to do is listen. As Srimad Bhagavat says, Shravana Mangalam, just hearing can bring liberation. I do not have the wisdom to speak of Thakur's contributions. I have borrowed heavily from my Gurudev, Srimad Mahanamrita Brahmachari Ji, who spoke of Thakur Ramakrishna Dev's contributions and compared them to the holy trifecta of Mahadev Shiva. Firstly, by not mere words, but by practice, Thakur showed how futile religious intolerance was. Secondly, by using worldly examples to illustrate the knowledge of Brahman, he showed how one can float like oil, untouched by the murky waters of material things, like a true Paramhansa. And thirdly, he showed how symbolism and idol worship, instead of being a divisive force, is actually a channel for finding spiritual liberation. Thakur once said to Sri Mahendranath, "Does a mother not prepare various dishes of the same fish because she knows one of her sons likes fries, another likes pickles, another likes roast, and so on? So why can the Almighty not show himself in various forms to various kinds of worshippers?" I will now end my speech here with the famous quote of Kathopanishad, which Swami Vivekananda ji was very fond of. Uttishtata jagrata prappa varan nivodhat क्षूरस्य धारा निशिता दुरत्यया दुर्गं पथस्तत् कवयो वदन्ति. Thank you.
Thank you, Indulekha. That was very, very nice. We should look into the take-home points from this one, from Ramakrishna's. If those who know Ramakrishna or who are involved in it, you already know about it. If Ramakrishna's first 16 disciples, if you look into them, they were all youth. You know, most of them, I would say like 80 to 90% of them. And all the advice he gave and the training he gave is, you know, from his own experience and is from own life. And Indulekha, like she mentioned, you know, the whole life of Ramakrishna was the parables. Because spirituality is not dry, it should not be dry. Make spirituality itself as an entertainment, then life will not be bored. And it was almost like what she said was intellect and intuition. Intellect you can do by your own efforts, but intuition has to be only by God's grace. But how do we get the God's grace? And by the parables, Ramakrishna also mentioned about the story which she mentioned was the man who went to watch the play at the theater. And this is exactly our life is, what she mentioned, our whole life is gone by sleeping. Our sleep is like getting involved into the material things and the worldly things. If we change our attitude and go into the spiritual and make it a point, you know, we will make our life. And this is what Ramakrishna's teachings are. And this is what he showed from the different parables, the beautiful way. Another point, you know, which she mentioned was like that God can come into different ways. The curry or the fish the mother prepares for the children. You know, why can't he? He can do anything, whatever he wants. So the rituals and the religious rites, what people go, it is just a way to go to the ultimate, to go to the absolute. And this is the point. And Ramakrishna has illustrated through his life, through his parables, and Mahendranath Datta has illustrated the whole thing into the Gospel of Ramakrishna. So let us continue with the next one, and this is by Naveen Narisatti. Okay, hi. And he is from University of Illinois, Champaign-Urbana. And you do?
Statistics.
Oh, he is a statistician. He is going to be a professor. You are a professor? Oh, he is a professor. He is not a student. I am so sorry. Yeah. Okay, so I welcome you to talk on the prolonged dream that we call life. Very nice. It is in connection with, what Indulekha has started.
Speaking to this.
Oh, you can put it on next 10 minutes, okay?
Sure. Namaskaram, everyone. I'm really humbled to speak to such a reverable audience, and I consider this audience to be the manifestation of Sri Ramakrishna himself. So I speak to you with love. So I'm also speaking about a parable from the Gospel of Sri Ramakrishna, when Sri Ramakrishna was with the devotees at Dakshineshwar, and this happened on Tuesday, June 5th, 1883. It was about 5 o'clock in the afternoon. Sri Ramakrishna was sitting on the steps of his veranda. Hajra, Rakhal and M were near him. Hajra had the attitude of a Vedantist, that I am he. So Master said to Hajra, yes, all one's confusion comes to an end if one only realizes that it is God who manifests himself as the atheist and the believer, the good and the bad, the real and the unreal, that it is he who is present in waking and in sleep, and that he is beyond all of this. So he is starting to tell a parable. There was a farmer to whom an only son was born when he was rather advanced in age. As the child grew up, his parents became very fond of him, naturally. One day the farmer was out working in the fields when a neighbor told him that his son was dangerously ill, indeed at the point of death. Returning home, he found the boy dead. His wife wept bitterly, but his own eyes remained dry. Sadly, the wife said to her neighbors, Such a son has passed away, and he hasn't even one tear to shed. After a long while, the farmer said to his wife, "Do you know why I am not crying? Last night I dreamt I had become a king and the father of 7 beautiful princes. These princes were beautiful as well as virtuous. They grow in stature and acquired wisdom and knowledge in the various arts. Suddenly I woke up. Now I have been wondering whether I should weep for those 7 children or this one boy." To the Jnanis, the waking state is no more real than the dream state. God alone is the doer. Everything happens by his will, says Sri Ramakrishna. And I think that with this parable, Sri Ramakrishna has beautifully explained the whole essence of the Vedanta in very simple words. And he has explained that God alone is real, and the world itself is manifestation of the God. As the saying goes, Brahma Satyam Jagat Mithya. And he's saying that the God has manifested as the ignorant, as the knowledgeable, as the good, as the bad. And without realizing this, we think that the impermanent sense world is real, and we suffer greatly through the miseries and sufferings of the world, like the wife of the farmer was suffering the loss of her son. When we are in dream state, we also think that the dream and the objects that appear to us in the dream are real as the objects that appear to us now in the waking state. But as soon as we wake up, we know that the things in the dream are not real. We now know that the dream was not real. But we continue to think all the time that the waking world is real. We never seem to realize that the waking world is as unreal as the dream is. And for example, in the parable, the the farmer, when he was dreaming, he felt exactly like a king, and he was experiencing the beauty and the virtues of his sons in the dream state. And in that dream state, he was not experiencing his son who is existing in the awakened state. So this parable clearly tells us that all that we are experiencing through our senses in this world are as unreal and as impermanent as the dream that we have when we are asleep. And Thakur also makes a very clear point that all that we experience through our senses is God himself. And we can sort of perceive this also by investigating a little bit deeper, by noticing that in both the waking state as well as in the dream state, the common existence is that of the observer, is that of the witness, which is consciously aware of both of these two states. And in this parable, it is the true self of the farmer. And as the Vedantic Mahavakya Tattvamasi goes, the true self of us is the same as the God, the Brahman, which is the ever existence, ever consciousness, and the pure bliss. And then we might wonder how come that we experience this world of senses? What is this world that we always experience? And as Sri Shankaracharya in his stotram to Sri Dakshinamurti says, Vishwan darpana drishyamana nagari tulyam nijantargatam. The world appears in one's own being like how a city appears in a mirror. So when we look into the mirror, we see the city, which is just like the world appearing in our own self. So we see everything in our own consciousness. There is no real existence to the things of the senses, the world. And a Gnani who realizes that God has manifested as the world, which has no real existence except for the essence, which is God himself, he realizes this saying that Brahma Satyam and Jagat Mithya, and goes beyond all the sufferings and miseries of the world. And he continues to enjoy the divine bliss every moment, like the farmer Jnani, who is not bothered by loss of his 7 sons, neither is he bothered by the loss of his 1 son. He is equanimous, he is indifferent to the miseries of this world. So I conclude that Sri Ramakrishna Paramhamsadev in this through this parable is explaining how a Jnani behaves, and how for a Jnani, for those who realizes that God is the manifestation of everything, is unchanged by the circumstances of the world. And I would like to pray that with the blessings of Sri Ramakrishna, we all may enjoy this pure knowledge and are beyond the sufferings of the world. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Naveen. That was very nice. I think we are running a little bit behind the time, so I think we'll hurry up a little bit. We'll try. And the point, what he explained today was Brahma Satyam Jagan Mithya. That was the point, really. And how Ramakrishna explained that through a parable of a waking stage, dream stage, and that, we think we are awake, but we are in dream state. And unless the only way to go through this or to get out of this is to wake up from this life of dream. Once we realize that, we will be, reaching our goal. And like Shankaracharya also mentioned, there are two ways, iti and neti. He explained either you have to believe and convince that the whole world is a manifestation of the God, or neti, Maya and Brahma. Brahma Satyam Jagan Mithya. Everything is false, nothing is true. Only Brahma is Satya. So with this point, let us go to the next one. And the next speaker is Ram Gopal Chandrasekharan. He is from University of Michigan, Ann Arbor. And you are doing?
I'm studying economics.
Economics, statistician, and next one is the economics. Okay? Okay, come on. And he is going to give us a parable, childlike faith. Right? Okay.
Hello everyone. So I would, before I start my speech, I would like to narrate the parable and the date in which the parable was narrated by Sri Ramakrishna in his Gospel of Sri Ramakrishna, recorded by Mahendranath Gupta, who is also known as M. So here, the story I'm going to tell you was narrated on 14th December 1883. It was the last day of the Bengali calendar, and it was full moon day. A very beautiful night when Sri Ramakrishna was sitting down with his disciples and he narrated the story. So this is his story in his own words, at least translate. Let me tell you the story of a boy named Jatira. So this is Thakur talking. He used to walk to school through the woods, and the journey frightened him. One day he told his mother of his fear. She replied, "Why should you be afraid? Call Madhusudana." "Mother," asked the boy, "who is Madhusudana?" The mother said, "He is your elder brother." One day after this, when the boy again felt afraid in the woods, he cried out, "Oh, brother Madhusudana!" But there was no response. He began to weep aloud. "Where are you, brother Madhusudana? Come to me, I am afraid." Then God could no longer stay away. He appeared before the boy and said, "Here I am. Why are you frightened?" And so saying, he took the boy out of the woods and showed him the way to school. When he took leave of the boy, God said, "I will come whenever you call me. Do not be afraid." One must have this faith of a child, this yearning. So my taking from this story, so basically I had narrated some story similar to this to my brother a few months ago, and there I wanted to indoctrinate him with different values. So I told him, see, there are different morals in the story. One is brothers are very important, elder brothers are very important. And then whenever you're missing me because I'm in America, say Madhusudana or something of that sort. But my brother, I don't know, he was actually quite happy that I was leaving, so anyway. But there are three themes I would like to talk about from the story today. The first theme is God can be realized with that intense yearning, that faith of a child. And I would like to narrate a story about from the Sundarakanda about Hanuman. No, I'm sorry. Yeah, I would like to narrate the story of a great poet in Sanskrit, Kalidasa. So Kalidasa, as the story goes, there was a very famous princess, very learned in the Shastras, and she wanted to marry someone who was very brilliant. And so she sent some of her father's courtiers to find a husband for her. And her father's courtiers did not have a liking for this princess. So then the courtiers found that on a tree there was this cowherd who's cutting the branch he's sitting on. And then they thought, oh, he seems to be a very good fool. Let us get him and get him married to our princess. So they actually brought him along and married him to the princess. And said that he's a very learned scholar, and somehow convinced the princess. But then the princess realized that actually her husband is a fool. So then they didn't know what to do. Then the princess knew that he was a great devotee of Kali, and he told him to go and pray to Kali. And it so happened that he had the blessings of the mother. And Kalidasa, today he is not only known as a great poet in India, but all across the world. His famous Raghuvamsha starts off, and even in that beautiful work of his in Raghuvamsha, he shows so much humility. He says, I feel people are going to laugh at me because of this work. I'm talking about people who are so great that people would laugh at me as a child trying to grab a few fruits from the tree. But that was the humility, and that was also his genius, his intense yearning because of which he realized God. There was also a second theme which I found from this story. It was that, yes, God can be realized with intense yearning, but you know how you fly kites and you can feel the tug of the string, even if the kites are quite high up in the sky amongst other kites. Sometimes you might not keep an eye on the kite, but you can feel the kite, you can feel the wind because of the tug of the string. Similarly, even if the presence of God cannot be seen by us intensely, as it can be seen in the cases of saints, I believe that with the grace, I believe even whenever I come to this places like the Ramakrishna mission, like when I get to interact with Swami Ishatmanandaji, other Swamijis, it is that presence of God which I value the most. And it is important for us to remind ourselves whenever we see the world around us. It is true that the world is a source of misery as well, but it is also a source of joy. The wonderful sunrise, the wonderful nature. If you read the Vedas, the way nature and all of this is described is just simply marvelous. And they don't give a very pessimistic idea of the world. So it is my conviction that the world can also be a source of happiness if you see God through the world. Yes, the world is temporary. The only permanence behind it is that God. But we must enjoy that presence. That is very important. Third thing the third takeaway that I have from this story of the boy Jatila is that just as if we pray to God with an intense yearning, he himself took Jatila out of the forest into to his school. Similarly, it is not impossible to do anything if we work through the presence of the Lord. This is because there is a story in the Sundarakanda in the Ramayana which illustrates this. Hanuman was very scared because he was all the monkeys were coming to him and they asked him to cross the ocean and go to Lanka to find Sita, and he didn't know what to do. He didn't even know of his own powers because of a curse, supposedly. And then he was reminded by his friend Jambavan that, no, you are very powerful, please you do it. And before he took the leap, what Hanuman did was he prayed to Lord Ram and then he jumped. At that moment, I don't think only Hanuman could have jumped that ocean. Any monkey, if he had taken the name of the Lord, he could have jumped the ocean. I think that is very important for us to have that conviction in God. In any challenge in life can be crossed simply with the name of the Lord. Swami Ishatmanandaji had also narrated a very nice story yesterday about this, about a cow maid who basically did not know anything about the Vedas or anything, but she had heard a Pandit talk about crossing the ocean of Bhavasagara just by taking the name of the Lord. She did not understand this, so what she did was she next day she was supposed to come, and she was usually coming late because the boatman was late. So then she just took the name of the Lord, crossed the river, and then the Pandit asks, oh, what happened? The boatman come early today. And then she said, no, I just took the name of the Lord and I crossed. And the Pandit was so surprised. What? How did you do this? And then he saw her do it again, and then he also thought, oh, I only taught her all this, so let me also try it. And he took his dhoti up and tried crossing the ocean, but ultimately just drowned. So that intense faith, that innocent yearning in our hearts is very important. And through the presence of our Lord, anything can be achieved. It is just as Arjuna says in the Gita, Krishna says in the Gita, Nimitta matram bhavasavya sachin. I think that is a very important takeaway. Whatever we do in life, it is important to feel the presence of Lord in whatever we do. And let me conclude by taking the name of Sri Ramakrishna and thanking all of you for giving me an opportunity to speak. Thank you.
That was a very nice takeaway point from Ramagopal, that intense faith, childlike faith. That's what Ramakrishna has insisted, no matter how many times, unless you have that yearning, intense yearning, that's what illustrates the story of the Madhusudana. And we have multiple stories like this in our scriptures, how the intense yearning and childlike faith, once we start getting involved with our intellect and starting analyzing and rationalizing, there we fail. Because there we starts our downward fall, because the childlike faith, no other faith, mother said or whoever said, that's what it is, and that's what Ramakrishna said. How many of us have really shed tears for God? And he used to say that if you shed tears for God for 2 days or maybe a few hours, you will see the difference. You will see the God. And that's what the Madhusudan story. And also I like his story of the kite. The tug of that string. The tug is there. It is always there in our life. But the only thing is we don't focus on it. Our focus is always on the worldly things, and we forget to feel that tug of the string. That's what the God is. And without God is the one who is doing everything and who is behind all this show. So along with that one, let us move forward. And the next one is Debarko Banerjee. Okay, he is coming all the way from California, San Francisco. So we are getting taste of the United States of North America, looks like. And you are doing?
I'm a biomedical researcher.
What is it?
Biomedical researcher.
Biomedical researcher, a very high field. Okay, so he is going to talk on elephant smearing in dirt, right? Okay, so let's say, give him a big hand before he starts. Thank you.
First of all, I'd like to thank Swami Shatmanandaji, Swami Vardhanandaji, and Swami Chidanandaji and the Vivekananda Vedanta Society of Chicago for this privilege of delivering this talk from the parables of Sri Ramakrishna. On Sunday, October the 19th of 1884, Sri Ramakrishna visited the Sinti Brahmo Samaj on the occasion of their autumn festival, which was being celebrated at Beni Madhav Pal's garden house. He was relating to the devotees the 4 classes of souls, namely the eternally free, those who have attained liberation, those struggling for liberation, and those entangled in the world. He was relating the dire situation that those entangled in worldliness find themselves in, and how they repeat the same actions that bring them misery. At this time, a Brahmo devotee asks, "Sir, Suppose a man has thought of God at other times during his life, but at the time of his death forgets him. Would he, on that account, come back to this world of sorrow and suffering? Why should it be so? He certainly thought of God sometime during his life. And the Master replies, a man thinks of God, no doubt, but he has no faith in him. Again and again he forgets God and becomes attached to the world. It is like giving the elephant a bath. Afterwards he covers his body with mud and dirt again. The mind is a mad elephant, but if you can make the elephant go into the stable immediately after bathing him, then he stays clean. Just so, if a man thinks of God in the hour of his death, then his mind becomes pure and gets no more opportunity to become attached to things of the world. Man has no faith in God, and that is the reason he suffers so much. A man must prepare the way beforehand so that he may think of God in the hour of death. The way lies through constant practice. If a man practices meditation on God, he will remember God even on the last day of his life. To me, this is a parable of maintaining faith in God. The story compares the mind to a mad elephant that returns straight to the mud and dirt right after giving it a bath. Therefore, to control the mind, it must be herded, so to speak, immediately into its stable right after its bath. The elephant mind must similarly be directed to God over and over again through constant practice and faith in God and the powers of goodness. It is the mind that will allow the embodied soul to direct itself, and it is thus imperative that the mind be brought under control. The means are faith and constant practice, and the task gradually becomes easier. Thank you.
That was a very nice story. It is very reassuring to in our scriptures, and Ramakrishna has mentioned many times that if you take or think of God at the time of death, you are free. You will attain whatever mukti, moksha, whatever you want to call. So it is very reassuring for the worldly people that fine, then I have the rest of my life. I can do whatever I want, and I can just think of God at the time of death. But the point is, what he mentioned here is, it is not that easy to think of God at the time of death. This is what happens for the time of death, and that was, the narration was that it is impossible for you to think of God at the time of death. Rest of your life, we have never ever thought of God, so there is no way at the time of death the thought is going to come to your mind of God. And that's what he mentioned in the story of the elephant, that elephant is compared to the mind, so strong, impossible to control him. And he is keep on going back into the dirt and getting dirty with the worldly things or the material things. That's what we all try to do. But unless it is controlled, it is stabled, it is not possible. So, and the stabling in that process has to be rest of our life. Once we get into that habit of practice of meditation, chanting, japa, whichever way you want to do it, then only the God's name is going to come to your mind at the time of the death. That is the moral of the story. That's a very nice one. And the last one from this group is Pallav Ranjan, and he is from University of Urbana-Champaign. And you are doing?
I'm doing my PhD in civil engineering.
They're all PhDs here, looks like researchers and PhDs and statisticians, and he's going to talk Bird on the Mast of the Ship, a beautiful story.
Namaste everyone. Thank you for coming today on this auspicious day. So I'm going to narrate. So the previous two speakers spoke about the importance of attaching yourself and how to move towards God and attaching everything to God, seeing the world through God. So I'm going to speak about the importance of Guru in the process. So I have a beautiful parable which is in the Gospels, and yeah, here it goes. So on the morning of Saturday, the 5th of April, 1884, Swami Ramakrishna Paramhans was sitting with his disciples surrounded in his small cottage. And one of the disciples asked, "Guru, why do you ask us to go on a pilgrimage?" So the Sri Ramakrishna, he narrates a beautiful parable to explain why he asked them to go on pilgrimage. So he said, "Once a bird sat on the mast of a ship. When the ship sailed through the mouth of the Ganges into the backwaters of the ocean, the bird fell asleep and failed to notice that it was going into the ocean. When it finally became aware of the ocean, it left the mast and flew north in search of land. But it found no limit to the water and so returned. After resting a while, it flew south. There too it found no limit to water. Panting for breath, the bird returned to the mast. Again, after resting a while, it flew east and then west, finding no limit to water in any direction. At last it settled down on the mast of the ship." So Sri Ramakrishna has beautifully explained the importance of wandering around in this parable, and also the importance of Guru. So the bird, which is like the seeker, goes around in all directions and finds only water, which is like only God in all direction. If you go on a pilgrimage, say in the north, south, east, and west, so you'll find only God, the same God everywhere. And when you come back to the Guru, you'll have faith in his words. So a Guru asks a devotee to go on pilgrimage so that he generates faith in the Guru, in Guru's words. And so, Sri Ramakrishna also says, like, as long as the man feels that God is there, he is ignorant. But as he attains knowledge, he feels that God is here. So I have another parable which will explain it even better. So it's the parable of a smoker. So a man wanted to smoke. He went to a neighbor's house to light his charcoal. It was the dead of night, and the household was asleep. After he had knocked a great deal, someone came down to open the door. At sight of the man, he asked, "Hello, what's the matter?" The man replied, "Can't you guess? You know how fond I am of smoking. I have come here to light my charcoal." The neighbor said, "Haha, you are a fine man indeed. All this time, you took the trouble to come knocking at my door, but all this time you had a lighted lantern in your hand." So Ramakrishna Paramhans, he says that what a man seeks is always near him. He still wanders all around the places. So this is the importance of Guru. God is always near us, but unless we have a Guru, we'll never realize that he is near us, and we'll be wandering all around the world. So yeah, so I'll just conclude by beautiful words, Doha by Kabir. Like most of us might be knowing this. It goes like, "Guru Gobind dou khade kake lagu paye, balihari Guru aapne Gobind diyo bataye," which means that Guru and God are standing next to each other. Whom should I bow to? So Kabir says that you should bow to the Guru first, who set forth you on the path to attain God. So that's it. So the takeaway is, like, we should have utmost devotion, and we should submit ourselves to the Guru, and then we'll definitely attain God. Namaste.
That was very nice, because now we have come from world to God to Guru. Guru is like a GPS. You know, people think, is there a need for a Guru? You know, because unless a GPS, unless we know where we are going, you know, we get kind of either stranded or lost. And that's what his parable explained about that bird. You know, we are going all different directions in search of a Guru, you know. But unless you come back and again rest, you know, you will not find. And that was a very famous one. He said, "Guru Govind dono khade kake lago paye." And that's very nice. You know, the Guru is the one who will show you the direction. You know, he is not going to give you the experience. The work has to be done by us. But he is like a GPS, and he will show you which way to go and what to do. That is the importance of the guru. Without the guru, the life or the path is going to be very, very difficult. And with this one, I think we are coming to the next one, our next program, and that is a beautiful dance, you know. And this is by Priyanka and Parami will be performing on 2 songs by Rabindranath Tagore, famous one, Fagun Have Hawa and Neel Digante. I am not a Bengali, so I don't understand the meaning of these words, but I think what it means is through which they are going to welcome the season of the spring, because spring is right around the corner now, and we are getting all ready for that because everyone is very tired of the snow now, I'm sure. And what it brings us is the color festival of colors, and that is the Holi, which is also around the corner and which is one of the very, very favorite festival of India. So I welcome Priyanka and Parmi to give us a beautiful performance. Thank you.
তোমার তোমার হাওয়ায় হাওয়ায় করেছি যে দান, ফাগুন হাওয়ায় হাওয়ায় করেছি যে দান, আমার আপন হারা প্রাণ, আমার বাঁধন ছেঁড়া প্রাণ, তোমার হাওয়ায় হাওয়ায় করেছি যে দান, ফাগুন হাওয়ায় হাওয়ায় করেছি যে দান।
দিগন্তে ওই ফুলের আগুন লাগলো লাগলো, নীল দিগন্তে ওই ফুলের আগুন লাগলো লাগলো, নীল দিগন্তে
বসন্তে সৌরভের শিখা জাগলো, বসন্তে সৌরভের শিখা জাগলো,
নীল দিগন্তে ওই ফুলের আগুন লাগলো লাগলো, নীল দিগন্তে। আকাশের লাগে ধাঁধা রবির আলো ওই কি বাধা, আকাশের লাগে ধাঁধা রবির আলো ওই কি বাধা, বুঝি ধরার কাছে আপনাকে সে মাগলো, বুঝি ধরার কাছে আপনাকে সে মাগলো, সর্ষে খেতে ফুল হয়ে তাই জাগলো, নীল দিগন্তে ওই ফুলের আগুন লাগলো লাগলো, নীল দিগন্তে।
নীল দিগন্তে মোর বেদন খানি লাগলো, অনেক কালের মনের কথা জাগলো, নীল দিগন্তে, নীল দিগন্তে মোর বেদন খানি লাগলো, অনেক কালের মনের কথা জাগলো,
এলো আমার হারিয়ে যাওয়া কোন ফাগুনের পাগল হাওয়া, এলো আমার হারিয়ে যাওয়া কোন ফাগুনের পাগল হাওয়া, বুঝি এই ফাগুনে আপনাকে সে মাগলো, এই ফাগুনে আপনাকে সে মাগলো, সর্ষে খেতে ঢেউ হয়ে তাই জাগলো, নীল দিগন্তে ওই ফুলের আগুন লাগলো লাগলো, নীল দিগন্তে ওই ফুলের আগুন লাগলো লাগলো, নীল দিগন্তে।
The festival of Holi. What we have to take from this is life is a celebration. Life is a celebration of colors. But only thing is play it right. Once we know the rules of this game, it will be wonderful, very entertaining and very enjoyable. Same is the spirituality too. Once we know the games, once we know the rules, once we know how to play it, life will be beautiful and spirituality will be beautiful. We think, oh, it is very difficult, we can't do it. It is very hard, but it's not like that. And this has been illustrated all along in Bhagavatam too. Like Lord Krishna's life, if you say, which is the most important festival he played is the Holi. And we say that all along. Along with this one, let us move forward and go to our second session with our speeches. The first speaker is Vasudeva Iyer. Purdue University, PhD in mechanical engineering. Are you still studying or? Oh, another PhD here. And he's going to give us a parable on Padmalochan.
Yeah, firstly, I would like to thank Swami Shatmananda for asking me to give a talk. So, I think so far we have already known, like the last 5 talks, that the goal of life probably is to know God, and the Guru is like our GPS who will help us to know that. But it's also important that there should be some effort from our side. So we should have internal purity of mind and body, so that we can practice spiritual discipline and progress in spiritual life. So this is a story that talks about purity. It was the conversation happened on October 16th, 1882, and Narendra, Rakhal, Ramlal, Hazra, and M were with Sri Ramakrishna. So the situation here is that Narendranath Swami Vivekananda is with his Brahmo friends. So in that time, Brahmo Samaj, there were a lot of preachers who used to talk about God and about religion. But Sri Ramakrishna advised them that without first knowing God, without first having purity and realization themselves, it's difficult for them to teach others about God. So he first, the lines he says before he starts the story is like this. First of all, set up God in the shrine of your heart, and then deliver lectures as much as you like. How will the mere repetition of Brahma profit you if you are not imbued with discrimination and dispassion? It is the empty sound of a conch shell. And then he says the story. There lived in a village a young man named Padmalochan. People used to call him Podo for short. In this village, there was a temple in a very dilapidated condition. It contained no image of God. Ashwatha and other plants sprang up on the ruins of its walls. Bats lived inside, and the floor was covered with dust and droppings of the bats. The people of the village had stopped visiting the temple. One day, after dusk, the villagers heard the sound of a conch shell from the direction of the temple. They thought perhaps someone had installed an image in the shrine and was performing the evening worship. One of them softly opened the door and saw Padmalochan standing in a corner. Padmalochan standing in a corner and blowing the conch. No image had been set up. The temple hadn't been swept or washed, and filth and dirt lay everywhere. Then he shouted to Podo, "You have set up no image here within the shrine, O fool. Blowing the conch, you simply make confusion worse confounded. Day and night, 11 bats scream here incessantly." And then he goes on to say, there is no use in merely making a noise if you want to establish the deity in the shrine of your heart. If you want to realize God, first of all, purify the mind, and in the pure heart, God takes his seat. So what we learn from this parable is first thing that spiritual discipline is very important to progress in spiritual life, and we have to control our sense organs. We have to control our mind that is always going out and seeking something worldly, and try to bring it back. And the tools that we have to use is discrimination and dispassion. And Sri Ramakrishna also says that knowing the difference between the real and the unreal, between the world and God, is discrimination. Now, I want to quote a couple of verses from the Bhagavad Gita, which is in the chapter 6 of on Dhyana Yoga. This is quite relevant because Sri Krishna also says almost exactly the same things that Sri Ramakrishna says. So the first verse is Yogi yunjita satatam atmanam rahasi sthitah ekaki yata chittatma nirashir aparigraha. So I will read the translation in English. Living in solitude, alone, with controlled mind and self, free from cravings, owing nothing, the yogin ought to apply himself to yoga incessantly. So here the word yoga could easily be understood as discrimination and dispassion that Sri Ramakrishna is referring to. And further, the second verse I want to read is right after that. It says, Prashanta mana vigata bhihi brahmachari vrite sthitaha manah samyamya matchitto yukta asita matparaha. So now now Sri Krishna says that once we have attained this kind of inner purity, we have tranquilized our senses, and once our fear is gone, only then we can concentrate our mind on God, which is again what Sri Ramakrishna was advising to the Brahmo devotees. Now the question arises, well, we need this inner purity, but how do we really go about trying to acquire this? We are all trying to make ourselves better, and we come here to the ashram. So Sri Ramakrishna has also said this again and again in the gospel. He has said that go into solitude and meditate on God, repeat His name and glories, and have holy company. So I think all of us here, especially people who have also taken maybe initiation from Swamiji, are trying to always do that. They are trying to get holy company, come to the ashram, spend time, and repeat the name of God, which is the way to this inner purification and finally, the vision of God. So, and to finally conclude, I would like to touch upon the point that we ourselves have to be careful when we go about trying to give advice to other people, because we come here, we learn something, and we read the gospel or Bhagavad Gita, and the moment somebody comes to us, we are start giving them a lecture. You don't know about Vedanta, you don't know about the reality, you're all worldly people. And so I think we have to be very careful. I have seen a lot of people who take, online meditation, or they go to a retreat and they learn on all kinds of things. They take advice from all kinds of people. They do kind of religious shopping everywhere, and they don't really end up getting any benefit. So I think if we meet people who are really interested, it's our duty to not preach to them, but to guide them and direct them to the right path, maybe to tell them to come here, or maybe to tell them to read Swami Vivekananda's works. I think that's the summary of and what I took away from this parable. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you very much. I think this was one of the practical instruction or practical advice to the sadhaka or the seeker. The story of the Padmalochan, that the symbolic, that temple is our heart or our mind, whichever one you want to call, which has been there in a very bad shape, and there is no sign of any god or anything. But unless we clean ourselves before establishing the God, or God will not come. And this is also in lot of our scriptures, yama and niyama, and how to keep ourselves pure. The purity is the most important thing between the yama and niyama, and Ramakrishna has insisted on this one many times. The yama and the niyama, about the purity has to be, and in Bhagavad Gita also it has mentioned multiple times, that purity of mind, purity of speech, and purity of the body, and all these three has to be in accord with each other. All these three things should be matched, and that's what he tried to explain on the purity. And unless that we have that, the God will not be established. And also he showed some of the ways how to do that is the meditation. And Ramakrishna has given this advice to most of his disciples, that keep some time to ourselves on daily our life, or every day, to keep some time for ourselves, and think of God. Meditation, japa, and another one is, the third one is, is the Holy Company. The Holy Company, the definition of the Holy Company could be anything. Sometimes practically it is not possible to go to the ashram every day, but the Holy Company, keeping good thoughts is a Holy Company, reading good books is a Holy Company, watching or listening to good lectures is a Holy Company. So these are the three important stands to enrich our spiritual life, and that was the practical instructions from this story. The next speaker is Kishore Kumargiri. Kishore is one of our own volunteer from Ramakrishna Mission, very near and dear to us. He is, and I'm very proud to say, he is from Andhra Pradesh, because I'm from Andhra Pradesh, and he is from Andhra University, and he's going to talk on the boy who actually fed God, So just welcome, Kishore.
सर्वधर्मस्थापकस्त्वं सर्वधर्मस्वरूपकः आचार्याणां महाचार्यो रामकृष्णाय ते नमः. Dear Swamijis and dear devotees, my pranams to you all. And unlike the other speakers, I am not a student. I have passed out in 2004, and I am working as a I'm working in IT industry, the most popular industry for all Indians. Can you hear me? Yeah. No? Very close. Is there? This is all. It's not working. Can you hear me now? Okay. So I was saying that I'm not a student anymore. I passed out in 2004, and I'm working in IT industry, the most popular industry among Indians. So my topic is A Boy Actually Fed God, which speaks about childlike faith, which Ram Gopal already covered this morning. So I'm reminded of an incident from the life of Swamiji. So Swamiji was conversing with one of his friends, Harmohan Mitra, and he was talking about the profundity of Sri Ramakrishna's teachings. And he says, one can write shelves of books on one single teaching of Sri Ramakrishna. So Harmohan surprised, and he asks, is that so? I don't find that profundity in his teachings. And Swamiji tells Harmohan Mitra, do you have brains to understand his teachings? If so, tell me one of his teachings. I will explain it to you. So Harmohan, he talks about, he asks Swamiji to talk about the Mahut god, the elephant god and the Mahut god story, which is mainly about seeing God in everyone, and then our self-effort and dependence on our self-effort and intellect. So once he said that, Swamiji talks to him for next 3 days continuously on this subject. So we understand how profound his teachings are. So I'm going to basically piggyback on whatever Ram Gopal has said, and this is that is because even Sri Ramakrishna had piggybacked on the previous story that Ram Gopal has narrated. If you see in the Gospel of Sri Ramakrishna, the story of Madhusudana comes just before the story of A Boy Actually Fed God. So this was on Friday, December 14th, 1883, Sri Ramakrishna was talking about faith with the devotees at Dakshineshwar. So the story goes like this. One must have childlike faith and the intense yearning that a child feels to see its mother. That yearning is like the red sky in the east at dawn. After such a sky, the sun must rise. Immediately after the yearning, one sees God. So he tells this story now. A Brahmana used to worship his family deity with food offerings. One day he had to go away on business. As he was about to leave the house, he said to his son, "Give the offering to the deity today. See, the god is fed." The boy offered food in the shrine, but the image remained silent on the altar. It would neither eat nor talk. The boy waited a long time, but still the image did not move. But the boy firmly believed that God would come down from his throne, sit on the floor, and partake of his food. Again and again he prayed to the deity, saying, "O Lord, come down and eat the food. It is already very late. I cannot sit here any longer." But the image did not utter a word. The boy burst into tears and cried, "O Lord, my father asked me to feed you. Why won't you come down? Why won't you eat from my hands?" The boy wept for some time with a longing soul. At last, the deity, smiling, came down from the altar and sat before the meal and ate it. After feeding the deity, the boy came out of the shrine room. His relatives said, "The worship is over. Now bring away the offering." The boy said, "Yes, the worship is over, but God has eaten everything." "How is that?" asked the relatives. The boy replied innocently, "Why, God has eaten the food." They entered the shrine and were speechless with wonder to see that the deity had already eaten every bit of the offering. So Sri Ramakrishna says, God can be realized through childlike faith and guilelessness. So we almost talk about faith and everything in our day-to-day life, but we miss this, that when we offer something to God, He really partakes it. That kind of faith, practically we don't expect in our intellectual realm, because we are all educated and we think a lot and we doubt a lot. So in the lines of Sri Ramakrishna, Sri Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita, Shraddhavan labate jnanam tatparas sanyatendriyah jnanam labdva param shantim achirenadi gacchati. A man of deep faith obtains this divine knowledge, being full of zeal and devotion for it and endowed with the mastery of the senses. Having obtained that knowledge, he is established in the supreme peace. So what is this faith? Shankaracharya says in Tattva Bodha, Guru Vedanta Vakyeshu Dhrudo Vishwasha Shraddha. Faith means the confidence in the words of Guru and the scriptures. Why faith in scriptures? Because scriptures are the authority on spiritual knowledge. And Guru explains the true purpose of the scriptures fitting to a student. If you see Sri Ramakrishna's life, how well he explains all these profound spiritual truths with the help of simple parables that we can understand. And faith really works miracles. If you see Sri Ramakrishna's life, you also know Girish Chandra Ghosh. Girish Chandra Ghosh was considered as Vishwasha Akara, embodiment of faith. What happened to him? He was completely transformed after meeting Sri Ramakrishna and placing faith in him. And same is the case with Latu Maharaj. He was a shepherd and became a Brahmagnani and a saint who was revered by everybody. And what happens if we don't have this faith? Sri Krishna says, Ajnanascha shraddhadanascha sanshayatma vinashyati. Nayam lokosti naparo nasukam nan sansayatmanaha. An ignorant man without any positive faith, who knows only to doubt, goes to ruin. To such a doubting soul, there is neither this world nor the world beyond. There is no happiness for him. We all are basically creatures of faith, only that it is not that we don't fundamentally have faith, but our faith is misplaced. We place our faith in material things rather than God or Guru. For example, when we go to work, we go in our car. We place the faith in car, that car works and takes us to the office. When we are sick, we place the faith in physician, that we may be cured by him. And when we fly, we put tremendous faith in the pilots. But all of this can betray us anytime. But the faith in Guru or God will never betray us. Sri Ramakrishna stressed this in the Gospel of Sri Ramakrishna. A genuine Guru or a religious person truly never betrays you. Instead, they think of your own welfare. However, Sri Ramakrishna never recommended blind faith. He encouraged youngsters like Narendra to inquire, test, and ask questions. So before placing your faith on Guru, you must see if he conforms to the teachings of scriptures or not. Once you get that confirmation and once you know that he is a true Guru, you should not swerve from the path of faith. If we see these monks here, how much faith they should have had to leave their hearth and home and come and join Ramakrishna order. Without that, they would not have led such life for so many years. Now you can see how much they serve us. I think I crossed the time. I'll just conclude it with I'll just conclude it. So all we need is look up to the Supreme Divine Spirit with childlike faith, simplicity, and openness of heart. He is near us. He is within us. He knows our thoughts, our feelings, our needs, and He will grant what is needful for us. All things are possible to the Supreme. That much faith we have to have. Thank you.
Thank you, Kishore. Just one comment. Never ever think that you are not a student. We are student till we die, because we keep on learning something every moment of our life. So we are lifelong students. To be a student, you doesn't have to be in the university. We are already in the university of this world or life, and we'll be learning something. The point he made today was mostly the story he narrated was the boy who actually fed. There are multiple stories like this, and one of the very famous story which I remembered was one of the saint from Maharashtra was Sant Namdev. There's a similar story. I think that was the beauty of Ramakrishna's parables. He used to take all these stories from the different parts of the world, scriptures and different holy books, and made his point that the boy who fed the God. And the point to take from this story was again the faith. The childlike faith which he mentioned is the Shraddha. And the Shraddha, there is a beautiful definition given about Shraddha in Viveka Chudamani. What Shraddha is and who we should keep our faith in, on the Guru. But Kishore also mentioned that with the Guru, you have to be discriminative. Vivek and Vairagya are the two poles, really. We have to stand on that. You cannot otherwise blind leading the blind. If you don't have a right person, you will go behind the right person, behind the blind person, and wherever, he takes you. That's why a kind of a discrimination, kind of doubting may be necessary in the beginning, till your conviction is really solidified or the foundation is very solid. But once you have that faith, the childlike faith, and then there is no doubting. Din hai to din hai, raat hai to raat hai. This is how it should be for the Guru. Once we know who it is, and once our conviction is very, solid. And this was the, I think, moral of the story which I got. And the two outstanding examples which he mentioned in Ramakrishna's life was Latu Maharaj. Total childlike faith. No doubt. And he had no knowledge of anything. He didn't read anything. He was not very well educated. But Girish Babu was the opposite pole of that Shraddha. In spite of, all his standing in the community, all his knowledge, he was a very, very knowledgeable person. But the total faith, Girish Babu had it. And that transformed him. So that's what the Shraddha takes you to. And along with that, let's go to Shivaratna Narisetti, University of Illinois, Champaign-Urbana. Oh, hi. You are from Andhra? She is another one from Andhra. So you know where all the jewels come from, Andhra.
My pranamas to Guruji and namaste to everyone and my friends. I'm going to read a parable about the grass-eating tiger that Sri Ramakrishna told his devotees at Dakshineshwar on Monday, June 4, 1883. And the master started like this. Some think, oh, I am a bound soul. I shall never acquire knowledge and devotion. But if one receives the Guru's grace, one has nothing to fear. And the parable is about a tiger. So the story is, once a tigress attacked a flock of goats. As she sprang on her prey, she gave birth to a cub and she died. The cub grew up in the company of goats. The goats ate grass and the cub followed their example. They bleated and the cub bleated too. Gradually it grew to be a big tiger. One day another tiger attacked the same flock. It was amazed to see this grass-eating tiger, and running after it, the wild tiger at last seized it, whereupon the grass-eating tiger began to bleat. The wild tiger dragged it to the water and said, "Hey, look at your face in the water. It is just like mine. Here is a little meat, eat it." Saying this, it thrust some meat into its mouth, but the grass-eating tiger would not swallow it and began to bleat again. Gradually, however, it got the taste for blood and came to release the meat. Then the wild tiger said, "Now you see, there is no difference between you and me. Come along and follow me into the forest." So there can be no fear if the Guru's grace descends on one. He will let you know who you are and what your real nature is. If the devotee practices spiritual discipline a little, the Guru explains everything to him. Then the disciple understands for himself what is real and what is unreal. God alone is real and the world is illusory. So from this story, I would like to take two main things. First one is, at first we all believe that this world of attachments, desires and emotions is real. Like how the grass-eating tiger believed that behaving like a goat, like eating grass and what is that? Sorry. Yeah, bleating is its own like true nature, and also it think that it is so weak like goat, but it's not really weak, or it's not meant to eat grass. So we also like it is behaving in that way because It is born and brought up among these goats and tend to behave in the same way. Like we people, we are also born and brought up among these circumstances where most of us, like most of the people, they indulge in worldly pleasures and tend to believe that we are limited and weak. So that's why we won't be able to realize our true nature. And second thing I would like to take from this story is that the grass-eating tiger, it is in its comfort zone, and it is not willing to come out of this comfort zone and explore new things, but it is just staying with the same flocks or same people around it, with the same place. That's why it was not able to discriminate between like these goat actions and actions of other animals, and it cannot question like why I am behaving in this way or why other animals are behaving in different way. And we are also like that. We are so hesitant to come out of our comfort zone and question ourselves why we are behaving in this way and what is our true nature. And another thing is that even like this fellow grass-eating tiger, it was so lucky enough that the Guru himself came to him and it was trying to explain what its real nature, but it was not even able to perceive that what Guru is telling him at first, but later on it was able to identify its true nature of eating meat and all. So like that, at first we won't be able to identify who is Guru or what is Guru trying to tell us or what is our true nature, but later on with complete faith in God and with little spiritual practices, we will be able to attain God and understand our true nature, which is ever existing, ever shining and infinite bliss. So these are the two main things I would like to take from this story. First thing, we have to come out of our comfort zone and explore different things to build up that kind of discrimination, to question ourselves. And second one is to understand what is true and what is not true, not just blindly believe what we are doing is true. I would also like to conclude this by saluting to Guru by chanting a poem which already the school children chanted, but I would like to do that once. It is Gurur Brahma, Gurur Vishnu, Gurur Devo Maheshwaraha, Gurur Sakshat Parabrahma, Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. It says Guru is the manifestation of everything, and with Guru's grace we can attain everything and anything, and we can identify our true nature, and all power is within us. So on this auspicious day of Sri Ramakrishna's birthday, we may all receive the Jagat Guru Sri Ramakrishna's enormous grace. Thank you.
That was very nice. And I think it's very true that we are not ready to come out of our comfort zone. Because I think, this is just my feeling, the human being is the laziest animal on this planet. Because whatever we feel comfortable, we don't want to leave it and come out. And same with the spirituality too. Because we have to make some efforts and we are not ready to do that. Kaun jayega, kahan jayega, we are fine at home watching TV or doing things, The only thing we do is which we have to do is like earning money. We have no choice. And that's what Swamiji has mentioned so many times, We have to get up, we have to be awake. Awake, arise and stop not till the goal is reached. And that's the moral of the story of this tiger and the grass, because the cub is not ready to leave his goat thing and being a tiger, and we need to know that, and we need to do that. We are like that, we have to awake. And just the last point is, spirituality is the best addiction anyone can ever have it. Once you have a taste of it, just a drop of it, it is impossible to get out of that. In comparison to the addiction of the spirituality, the worldly addiction is nothing. And this has been proved in the life of the Ramakrishna by taking Girish Babu away from his addictions. He had all kind of worldly addictions, but finally he got hooked to the spirituality and the Guru. And now we'll go next to Haimabati Day, right? Yeah, from Purdue University, and you are. Oh, she is doing PhD in electrical engineering. So let's see what she has to say. Hiss but not bite. This one.
Hello everyone. I am extremely excited and fortunate to be here to share my story with you all. The story I am about to share, I read it when I was like 5-year-old, and it really helped me to make so many decisions in my life. It's a bit long story, so probably I will cut my decision short, the philosophical discussions short, and I am extremely grateful to Swami Ishtatmanandaji to make me involved with Vivekananda Vedanta Society's Chicago chapter in these days. The name of the story is How to Deal with Weak People, the parable of the snake. So, Sri Ramakrishna Dev told this story in February 1882, and this happened in a time when a devotee asked him, Sir, if a weak man is about to do harm to me or actually does so, should I keep quiet then? Sri Ramakrishna Dev replied, a man living in society should make a show of tamas to protect himself from evil-minded people, but he should not harm anybody in anticipation of harm likely to be done to him. Listens to a story. Some cowherd boys used to tend their cows in a meadow where a terrible poisonous snake lived. Everyone was on the alert for fear of it. One day, a brahmachari was going along the meadow. The boys ran to him and said, Revered sir, please don't go in that way. A venomous snake lives over there. What of it, my good children? Said the brahmachari. I am not afraid of the snake. I know some mantras. So saying that brahmachari continued on his way along the meadow. But the cowherd boys, being afraid, didn't accompany him. In the meantime, the snake moved swiftly towards him with an upraised hood. As soon as it came near, the brahmachari recited a mantra, and the snake lay at his feet like an earthworm. The brahmachari said, Look here, why do you go about doing harm? Come, I will give you a holy word. By repeating it, you will learn to love God. Ultimately, you will realize Him, and so get rid of your violent nature. Saying this, he taught the snake a holy word and initiated him into spiritual life. The snake bowed before the brahmachari and said, O revered teacher, how shall I practice spiritual discipline? Repeat the sacred word, said the teacher, and do no harm to anybody. As he was about to depart, the brahmachari said, I shall see you again. Some days passed, and the cowherd boys noticed the snake could not bite. They threw stones at it, still it showed no anger. It behaved as if it were an earthworm. One day, one of the boys came close to it, caught it by the tail, and whirling it round and round, dashed it again and again on the ground and threw it away. The snake vomited blood and became unconscious. It was stunned. It could not move. So, thinking it dead, the boys went their way. Late at night, the snake regained consciousness. Slowly, with great difficulty, it dragged itself into its hole. Its bones were broken and it could not move at all. Many days passed. The snake became a mere skeleton covered with the skin. Now and then at night, it would come out in search of food. For fear of the boys, it did not leave its hole during the daytime. Since receiving the sacred word from the brahmachari, it had given up doing harm to others. It maintained its life on dirt, leaves or fruits that had dropped from the trees. About a year later, the brahmachari came that way again and asked after the snake. The cowherd boys told him that it was dead, but the brahmachari didn't believe it. He knew that the snake would not die until it attains the fruit of the holy word. So he found his way to the place again and searched for the snake. Hearing the teacher's voice, the snake came out of its hole and bowed before him. And Brahmachari asked him, "How are you?" The snake replied, "I am well, sir." But the Brahmachari asked, "Why are you so thin?" The snake replied, "Teacher, you ordered me not to harm anybody, so I have been living only on leaves and fruit. Perhaps that has made me thin." The snake had developed the quality of Satya. It could not be angry with anyone. It had totally forgotten that the cowherd boys had almost killed it. The Brahmachari said, "It can't be mere want of food that has reduced to this state. There must be some other reason. Think a little." Then the snake remembered that the boys had dashed it against the ground. It said, "Yes, teacher, now I remember. The boys one day dashed me violently against the ground. They are ignorant after all. They didn't realize what a great change had come over my mind. How could they know I wouldn't bite or harm anyone?" The Brahmachari explained, "What a shame. You are such a fool. You don't know how to protect yourself. I asked you not to bite, but I didn't forbid you to hiss. Why didn't you scare them by hissing?" So, we must hiss at weak people. We must frighten them at least before they do any harm to us. But never we should inject our venom into other people's life. One must not injure others. And I believe when we are in spiritual path, we are slowly giving up our competitive, aggressive nature. We develop a lot of peaceful tendencies inside us. And at that time, in real world, in today's world, at this generation, we may have to deal with situations where we have to have that hiss. We must not burn any bridges, but we must protect our forts, our virtues, and it's good to be in a giving side, helping others, but we must be careful that we are not being taken advantage of. It's always good to take care of others, but we should also take care of ourselves in a very truthful, sincere way. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I think there is a big misconception in the society that spiritual people are very weak. And I think the moral of the story is to overcome that misconception that spirituality does not make you weak. In fact, that makes you stronger, because we are harnessing all our emotions, all our vrittis, anger, and all those things. And that's what the story tells, because it says hiss but not bite. What that means is hissing, because the survival or protection of the body is the most important things for the human being, because unless we have this body, then we cannot go further or even in the spiritual path. So the protection and the survival of this body is important, but hissing, when to hiss, is the important thing, and who to hiss is the important thing. Not with the intention of hurting somebody, or not just to be being bad or just to take revenge. Even hissing is not allowed. The hissing is allowed only for the self-protection. And this reminds me of one of the shloka in the Bhagavad Gita, Vidya Vinaya Sampanne Brahmane Gavihassini Shunichaiva Shvapakecha Pandita Samadarshinaha. What it means is we should treat everybody. Ramakrishna just did say this in many times. Animate, inanimate, everybody, we should treat everybody same. Means we should have the similar emotion or the sensation inside us, but that does not mean that we should treat everybody the same. Everyone has to be treated according to their own. Vidya Vinaya Sampanne Brahmane Gavihassine. Dog and the man cannot be treated in the same way. We do not eat from the same plate as a dog, as we may do from a person. That's what it means. Hissing is important for the protection, and that's what the story Ramakrishna was trying to make. Along with with this one, I think we are coming to our last speaker, and that is Jyoti Tripathi. And she is from Fermilab, it seems, Batavia, Illinois. And you're working there, or? Oh, another PhD student. And this is the we have a lot of PhD students here. And the story is about the Mahut god.
Pranam Swamiji, and a very warm good afternoon to everyone. So as we are celebrating the 183rd birthday of Sri Ramakrishna, I would like to share one of the parables from the Gospel of Sri Ramakrishna. And this parable is from chapter 1, Master and Disciples. Okay, so it was Sunday afternoon in the month of February 1882, and Sri Ramakrishna was sitting with his disciples, and the room was filled with disciples as it was a Sunday and all of them were taking the opportunity of Sunday being the holiday. So many people was there to see the master. And the master was smiling while talking to all of them. And oh, is it this one's on? Okay. Okay. So the master was talking to everyone about the greater number of people, the increasing number of people who look down on those who aspire to walk on the spiritual path, those people who have the aspirations to have spiritual progress in life. They are generally looked down upon by the worldly people. So they all were having conversation about this, and among the devotees, the 19-year-old young Narendranath was also present. So Sri Ramakrishna asks to Narendra that, how do you feel about it? These days worldly people say all kind of wrong things about the spiritual people, but when an elephant moves across the street, there are many animals, small animals mainly, who bark and cry at the animal, but the elephant never gets derailed from its path, and he never tries to reply back at those. So the Sri Ramakrishna is mainly asking to Vivekananda, Swami Vivekananda, that what is your thinking about this? So while replying to the question of Sri Ramakrishna, Narendra replies that, well, I shall think that the dogs are barking at me. When Sri Ramakrishna heard his reply, he was laughing, and he said, well, my child, you don't need to think that far. And to illustrate him more about this, he tells him a story, and the story is the Mahut god. So Sri Ramakrishna goes on telling him that there was a holy man in the forest, and he had many disciples. So one day the holy man decided to teach his disciples that God is there in all beings, and knowing this, that God is there in all beings, be it animate or inanimate, we should have a practice to bow low before others, because we should have this feeling of respecting others. So listening to this story, and then one of the disciples, one day he went out to the forest, and he was there in the forest to take wood. So while he was there, he heard people crying about that, get out of the way, and a mad elephant is coming. So most of the people who were around, they got out of the way, but this disciple, he decided not to go away. So he reasoned that since God is there in all the beings, what is the need to run away from the jungle? So meanwhile, the Mahut, who is an elephant rider, who was riding on the elephant, he shouted again that please get out of the way, and this elephant is mad. But again, this disciple had this conviction in his mind that God is there in all the beings, so I will not move away. And as soon as the animal arrived, he seized him with his trunk, he cast him aside, and the animal went on. So this disciple was heavily bruised and hurt, and when his brother disciples and his teacher got to know about this, they all rushed to the jungle and they nursed him and they gave him some medicine. So after some time, when he gained consciousness, somebody asked him that, since you were aware that a mad elephant is coming, why did you decided to stay there? So he said that our teacher has told that God is there in all the beings. So be it animal or man, God is there. So that way I thought that it was the elephant god that is coming, and I decided to stay there. So the teacher who taught him was also there, and listening to this remark, he had a laughter, and he explained him again that yes, my child, God is there in all the beings, but there was a Mahut god as well, the Mahut who was the elephant rider, and you should have paid attention to what Mahut was saying. You should have listened to him, and you should have decided to move away from there. So that way the teacher tried to clarify him that he should have made the right decision. And this way Sri Ramakrishna concludes the story of Mahut God, and then he further explains that in our scriptures we have read that water is also a form of God, but some water is fit to be used for holy purpose, and some we use for drinking, some we use for washing dishes, and so on. But the water that we use for washing dishes cannot be used for holy purpose. So in a similar way, he explained that God is there undoubtedly in all the beings, be it holy, unholy, righteous, or unrighteous. But a man should not have any dealing with the wicked, the impure, or a man should not choose to be in a bad company. And if you are surrounded by wrong people, sometime if you need, you may exchange a few words, but sometime you should not even do that. Try to stay away from wrong people or the wicked ones as much as possible. So this way, Sri Ramakrishna concludes the story of Mahut God. So when I read this parable, the very first thing that this story underlines is the importance of the power of discrimination. So as in India, we have so many spiritual literature to read, we should train our mind so that it can help us to discriminate. And the awakened mind is capable of making the right decision at the right time. And also, if we have a well-trained mind, we are endowed with the power of discrimination. And under the guidance of Guru or under the guidance of the scriptures, we should cultivate the power to discriminate between what is real, unreal, good or bad, holy or unholy. And another thing is that if we are under the guidance of a Guru or we are reading a scripture, we should try to have a thorough understanding of the teachings. And if we have the courage to move on the path of righteousness, and if we are planning to absorb what is being taught to us, we should try to have a deeper understanding of the message or the teachings. And another practical thing that I got to understand from this is that in today's time, we have so much of information that is being doled out to us. So we should not be ready to accept all the things we should not be ready to accept everything at its face value. And lastly, I would like to say that as Swami Vivekananda has rightly said, that we should have faith in ourselves and we should not get derailed by good or bad remarks made by others. So if we are walking on the path of righteousness, we should keep going and be persistent in our efforts, because if we want to accomplish something meaningful and something great, it needs hard work and single-minded determination for a long time. So thank you so much.
This was our last speaker, and that was very nicely done. Power of discrimination. I think that's what we really get, from this story. And again, the Gita shloka I mentioned, Vidya Vinaya Sampanne Brahmane Gavyastini. Similar, we should treat everybody the same, but our behavior has to be different. But to do that, we need this power of discrimination, which is very important and which we can get under the guidance of the Guru and doing the spiritual practices. And like Swami Vivekananda mentioned, is have a faith. That is the most important thing, is have a faith in yourself. Unless you don't have a faith in the self, you won't be able to do anything. And to develop that faith in the self, again, the discrimination and the guidance of the Guru is also needed and is very important. With this conclusion, I hope everyone enjoyed the program, and I encourage all the speakers, to stay in touch and get involved with the Ramakrishna mission and also Swamiji's and Ramakrishna's philosophy, and keep coming to the center. We really enjoyed the program, and with this one now I invite all the performers, including the Shanti Mantra children, the dancers, and all the speakers to the stage, and I invite Swami Vardhananji Maharaj to come to the stage. So we have a small token of appreciation for them from the center. I think some of them may have left, the children. No, I don't know the names. Okay. We just would like to have each one of you come in a line and receive your gift from Swamiji, and go and bow down to Holy Mother and stand near the wall. So we will take a picture, okay? Group picture. Okay. Give them. Tell your name. I don't know the names either. That's okay. Okay. Yeah. Go stand near the wall so we can take a picture. Indulekha? Go ahead. Oh, they're taking us a picture of that first. Oh, okay.